Hello Crafty Llamas! In this video I'll be showing you how to knit stitch in combination knitting. So that is a mixture of Eastern and Western continental knitting. So yeah, let's go. I've got some yarn here that I rescued off a lovely lady off Facebook. And then I have got my 5mm high Europe needles on a short cable just so that I can show you how to do this. So I've cast on 15 stitches. If you need a guide on how to cast on, then I will link some videos below. So knit stitch is your most basic stitch. There's two key stitches in knitting, which is knit and purl. This is your knit stitch. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on my hands so that you can see me that little bit clearer. How close can I get? There we go. Possibly. There we go. So I hold my yarn in my left hand. I don't wrap it around my finger or anything like that. I never have, and I probably never will. Some knitters will tell you to help you with tension. That's not really something that I learned when I learned how to knit, to kind of wrap it round. So it's just not really something I do. If you prefer to do that, that's absolutely fine. So what you're going to do is you're going to slip your right hand needle, which is your working needle, through the back loop of your first stitch on your left hand needle. So what I mean by back and front loop, so here is your front loop, as you can see it's facing me, and then your back loop will just be the one towards the back. So if I flip that over, you can see that is the back loop, like so. So you go through the back loop and then you wrap your yarn using your left hand anti-clockwise from back towards you. So you go behind your needle and towards you like that, and then you pull it through so that you've got a loop on your right hand needle, and then you slip that stitch that you've just worked off your left hand needle. So it's the process of transferring stitches whilst kind of increasing the height of your work. So if I do that again, I go through the back loop like so, anti-clockwise from back to front, and then what I tend to do is I pull down a little bit just to give me the space, and I twist that top needle just a little bit just to give me that traction, and then I just use my right hand finger, index finger, just to push these stitches off. So let's carry on. So through the back loop, anti-clockwise wrap, pull down a little bit, twist, and there you go. So the joy of continental knitting or combination knitting is that it's apparently a lot quicker. It's the only way I've ever knitted, and for many a year I didn't actually know what this was called. It was just how I learned to knit, thanks to my mum. But essentially, because you're not transferring yarn from, you're not having to drop your needle out of this hand and then wrap around with your yarn, it works out faster. So let's just go over that again. So you go through the back loop of your stitch. So there's a nice clear stitch here. So you go through the back loop from right to left, like so, wrap anti-clockwise, and then you just pull through, like so. And I'll show you what that looks like when you get to the end of the row. Right, so I've just finished that first row. So you can just pull that stitch there quite tight. And then what you get is you get little V's that appear. It's quite hard to see after just one row. Let that focus. There we go. So there's a little V here. Goes down, and then you've got your cast on edge at the bottom. So that is the first row. When you're knitting as opposed to crochet, with crochet you then have to kind of chain the stitches and things like that. You don't have to in knitting, it's quite nice. You just knit the opposite way. So all I've done here is I'm transferring my needle from my right hand into my left hand. So in the process, take 180 degrees, and that is now my left hand, and the back of the work will look bobbly. That is completely normal. You haven't done anything wrong. This will be the wrong side of your work, and this is what a purl stitch would look like which I will do another video on how to do that. So we're just going to knit back. So grab your yarn again, put some more yarn in, and then once again, like you did last time, you've now obviously got your working stitches in your left hand and your empty needle in your right hand. Pop it in through the back loop, which is just there, as you can see. Pop that in like that, yarn over, back to front, and pull through. And then slip that stitch off your needle. Now, as you kind of become a more experienced knitter, you'll become a lot faster at this, and that is absolutely fine, but also don't worry about taking your time when you're first learning. Kind of holding the yarn in your left hand can feel a bit awkward. As you can tell, when I'm about to wrap, I hold both needles essentially in one hand. I use my thumb to pinch my left hand, the tip of my left hand needle between my thumb and my index finger, so that I can hold that in place as I wrap. And then I pick my needle back up towards the end of my wrap, like that. So if I do that again, what I do is I pop that in there, then grab the tip of that needle with my index and thumb, wrap, and then on the back, like so. So that's how I do it. I'm sure everyone does it slightly differently, but that's how I've kind of learned to knit and taught myself. I also tend to rest the palm of my hand. I keep that on the needle at all times, so I don't move this hand completely off the needle. I just rest that needle in the palm, and that way I don't have to move my hand too much. It's mainly the fingers doing the work, which is nice. So this is now 2 rows. This is the back, so this is what your pearl stitch will look like, but this is the wrong side of your work. So if you flip it over, there we go. I've now done 2 rows of knit stitch. So knit stitch will look different front and back. So essentially what I'm working in here is garter stitch, where it's not going to be a smooth right side of your work, which just means you'll have a lot of V's and then a whole load of bumps in one row. So the bumps, like I said, that's what if you're purling, that's how your purl stitch would come out. When you're doing a garter stitch, it's knit every row, which kind of creates a V and then a bump and then a V and then a bump. If you were to do stocking stitch, that's a smooth front of your work, which means you would knit a row, then purl a row, then knit a row, then purl a row. That would then create a completely flat and smooth piece of knitting. I'll do individual videos on those as well, so I'll link those below when they're ready, and I've got them all sorted for you. So let's do one more row, and then you can kind of see what I mean about smooth and bumpy. So once again, just straight through the back, wrap, there we go. Let's zoom out so you can see what my hands are doing all together. There we go. So let's do that one. So when I say the needle doesn't leave the palm of my hand, I go in, and then that bit pretty much always rests against that bit of my hand, so it's not just like a free needle. So if I'm doing that quickly, it's easier to show. I keep my thumb here to keep it in position so that it's not just kind of going wherever it wants, like that. Right, so that's now 3 rows. So I'm just going to zoom in again for you to see where I'm working. There we go. So now it's going to be a lot clearer that I've kind of got the V's, and then you can see I've got this row of bumps, And then if you just pull that out tight a little bit, you've got more V's here. So you'll get used to being able to tell your kind of knit and purl stitches apart. That just takes experience and time. The way to remember it is purls are bumpy or round, like your kind of purl stitches here. And then your knit stitches are flat. Great. So that's how to knit stitch in combination knitting. If you have enjoyed this video, please let me know by commenting below and liking it. We do have weekly videos, so please do subscribe to my channel. Our social media handle is Crafty Llama UK, so you can find us on various platforms using that. Please tag us if you attempt anything in this video, and of course you can purchase the needles and cables from my Etsy shop. That's it for this week, but I will be back with you next week for another knitting how-to video. Bye!